Cam Green, his century, 8 fours, 8 sixes, batted for a good portion of that chase with Rohit Sharma, as he mentioned there. When Australian key figures in Australian cricket speak of you have to have your players in this competition for all the benefit it can do, Cam Green is probably the best example of that now. 14 matches in this season, 381 runs at 54, a strike rate of the best part of 160. He's had substantial innings of 64 not out, 67, 33, 44, and now 100. He's batted at 3, he's opened, he's come in at 6 and 7. He's played every role, and Robert Craddock, he is the most exciting commodity in Australian cricket, and this stands as another landmark in his development.
Yeah, and just batting with Rohit Sharma, like all the guys that play at Mumbai say that it's like just a tutorial in life to be there with Rohit, because he may be a superstar, but he came from the very humble upbringing. We've spoken about it before. His parents were so impoverished, they had to get him to be raised by his uncle. And he's just so grounded, Rohit. And to see him at the other end just tutoring Cam through this innings. What I love about Green is he never loses his shape when he's batting for a big guy. Some big guys can look awkward, but he's got all the shots and generally plays straight when he goes for the big one. He's got all the gears. He can drop anchor for half an hour in a test match and look suitably serene, or he's got fifth gear in an IPL game where balls are disappearing everywhere. He is a force of nature, Jared, and could be the single biggest difference between Australia and England in the Ashes. I mean, if Ben Stokes can't bowl and he's struggling, and this young lad can average 40 as a batsman and take a couple of wickets a test, it's just in a cramped schedule when you've got 5 tests in 7 weeks, your all-rounder is absolute gold. He really is. And he reminds me a little bit of Andrew Symonds in that when he goes to a new level, sometimes IPL, it takes him just a couple of games to get the feel of it, as he did in Test cricket. Symonds did. Symonds, everywhere he went, he just took a few games to sort of get his teeth into it, and then he was away. Cam's the same.
He's about to turn 24. He's made his Test century in India. He's doing this in the IPL. There's a 50-over World Cup in India beyond the Ashes crash. Do you see him now in that Australian team with the experiences that he is amassing?
Oh, I think they've really got to look at that, because he has transformed his reputation, and you can't ignore big-time players like this. And I know everyone says, oh, hang on, you've got Marsh and Stoinis, but, have a look at his strike rate, 160. Is absolutely blistering. He may end up winning the new, the Tarago, the new 4-wheel drive for the best strike rate in the IPL. Which is on offer to a car they put at the ground, and you're allowed to hit the car. And they love it when you hit the car, Jared, because it's free publicity. There's a quirky promotion. But look, I think he's now firmly in the discussion, because he knows India now. He knows how to shine there. He knows what shots work. He knows how Indian one-day wickets work. So I'd love to see him in that squad. I really will, really do. And I think that, he's special. I'd also love to see him in the leadership group for the Ashes. Put him in there. Put him in when the captain and the vice-captain, Cummins and Smith, are talking all things cricket. Sit him in the corner. Get him to listen. Because guess what, Cameron? The way you're progressing, mate, when you're 27 years old, you could be the first guy through the gate. You really could be, because who else of his generation is a rival? We've got to start thinking of him as a future captain, Jared. We really do.
Yep. Is all the work that's been put in on the apprenticeship that was done in international cricket, I think it's a testament to how he has been handled, and everybody recognised what it was along the way, and the dividends are going to be immense and long-lasting. And your point around he knows how to do it in Indian conditions, red ball, white ball, and so much of the future of cricket is all about Indian conditions. And he's given himself the best chance, and he's been given the best chance to absorb those experiences and now put it into practice.
Yeah, and kudos to Greg Chappell, who was the very first big-time voice to say, oh, we've got one here. I've seen the batsman of the new generation. He will be, and Greg couldn't wait for someone to ask him about it so he could burst into print in a way that Greg could find a player. He was the first guy to say that, look, Ian Healy, I'm telling you, I know he's the number 2 keeper in Queensland, but he can play a lot of test matches. He said Steve Smith 2 years before everyone else. He said, right, we've got one here. And so just occasionally when his radar struck gold, he could really find someone special.
In England, Australians are doing great things in the county championship. So another century for Marcus Harris. Marnus is making runs for fun. But the most curious is Michael Neser made a century. So he has been quite captivating with what he's been doing with the ball. If you do nothing else today other than watch Cam Green's innings, just have a quick look at the clips. Steve Smith is bowling when Neser makes his 100, and then Steve Smith dismisses Neser. There's some pretty interesting interaction going on there, I think.
Yeah, there was indeed, and he hits Smith for a glorious 6, doesn't he? So but Michael Neser is a figure of significant interest because the 100 followed a recent 80 for Glamorgan, which followed a haul of 7 for and 4 for. So he is an absolutely honey sweet form, Michael, but due to the man we've just spoken about, Cameron Green, there's no place for him in the test team. So because he's not going to sneak into that bowling attack first up. But you know what, Jared? He's been called into the camp. He's batting so well, I think you could play him at number 6 if something happened to Cameron Green, even though you've got Mitchell Marsh in the squad. There's a good question, Jared, isn't it? If something happened to Cam Green, is it Mitchell Marsh? Or do you say to Neser, you come in and we'll put Alex Carey at 6 and you at 7? I reckon that'll just do it. Like, he's batting so well. Like, it would be a really tough decision, wouldn't it?
There's an absolute logic in what you've described there. Carey to 6 and Neser at 7, given their form that he's in English conditions and what that does to your bowling stocks as well against Bazball. It feels to me, and we might end up being proven wrong in hindsight, but there is such a divergence in paths right now between Australia and England. It feels like every second day there's a fresh injury for England. Now Ollie Robinson is in that camp, and we're a bit unsure of what James Anderson is going to be capable of. And Australia has its team tuning up on all sorts of frontiers at the moment.
It's incredible, isn't it? Ben Stokes said to him 2 months ago, I want 8 fit fast bowlers. And everyone chuckled saying, oh, mate, of course you're going to get a stack of fit fast bowlers. Hey, but guess what? Ben himself has got a knee injury, which throws out the entire balance of the team. Joffa Archer is gone for the series. Jimmy Anderson, as you say, has got a groin. Ollie Robinson has got an ankle. Mark Wood has had a career-long struggle with injuries. So who are you left with, Jared? You're left with sort of the attack that got pounded in Australia last time of bringing back Chris Wokes and Stuart Broad and people like that. So I as I said to you on last week's show, I just woke up one day last week and thought Australia's going to win this series.
Yeah.
They should be favourites for it and they should win it because they're the better team. And of all these injuries, if they'd be terribly disappointed to lose the series. I know they haven't won there since 2001, but the gap is closing. And with all, as I said, Australia's players are in rude form. As you said, England is just struggling to the casualty ward.
If all goes to plan, Andrew McDonald's going to be with me in the studio tomorrow before he flies to England with the other players who are in Australia. So we'll be able to dive deep there at 11 o'clock tomorrow. Crash, you're also heading towards State of Origin. So it's Wednesday week, isn't it? The first game in Adelaide. I see this morning that the Sydney-based morning shows are all a Twitter about New South Wales announcing their team. And I imagine Queensland's a bit the same.
Well, Billy Slater, the former great fullback, who was just a joy to watch. He was a very brave player, Jared. And I tell you what he is. He's a brave coach and a brave selector. He won last year the series, and he's omitted the great Kalen Ponga, who from fullback position, who's had concussion struggles and went down in the weekend just for about 10 minutes and got cleared. Billy thought, nope, I've seen enough, mate. You're not in. We'll go with Reece Walsh. And he had the look at the form of another player, Dane Gagai, who's the spirit of the team, who's been there for 7 years. His club football can be modest, and then he steps up each time in Origin, but he missed 2 bad tackles on Saturday. And Billy is so big on the small stuff because he did it so well himself. And he was in the team on Saturday morning and out of the team by 6 p.m. Saturday. Dane Gagai, probably the end of his career. So, Billy, don't muck around. That's the moral of today's selections. But there's a special vibe. The first game's in Adelaide, and it'll be a beauty.
Crash, terrific. Thanks for your wisdom and experience today.
See you next week, Jared. Can't wait.
Robert Craddock.